Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And on this segment of the show, I have family law attorney and mediator Stephanie Tang of Kogut and Wilson, L.L.C, calling in all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Now, Steffi has a wealth of experience in the area of divorce, specializes in family law, and will be talking to you today about negotiating custody agreements to avoid common mistakes that bring parents back into court after the divorce is finalized. Now, that sounds very interesting, so let's not keep her waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome, Stephanie. So, can you, in your own words, just briefly describe the people who you serve and the kinds of situations that they find themselves in when they come to you for help?
Sure. So our firm focuses solely on divorce and family law. Within that, I would say there are two major categories of people who come to our law firm seeking help. So the first are people seeking divorce, including finalizing division of their assets and debts and negotiating their custody agreement, or as we call it in Illinois, an allocation judgment. And then the second category would be the people seeking to enforce or modify their divorce and parenting agreements once they're actually entered with the court.
Okay, so with those people in mind then, Stephanie, what are some of the most common misconceptions surrounding negotiating custody agreements, or as you say in Illinois, allocation judgments?
So I would say that people often don't think about the implications of entering into a final parenting agreement in terms of the impact it has on their children and how they're actually going to implement it after it is actually entered. Parents often are so relieved when a final parenting agreement is entered. They often think that once it's entered in court, there will be no kinks in actually putting it into place, and that it'll just be kind of a magic situation where things will go very smoothly. However, it's important that parents make a conscious effort to ensure a smooth transition in such an uncertain time of their children's lives by making sure they understand the provisions of their agreement and how they'll actually play out in their everyday lives.
Based on what you just shared with me then, and of course, everything what you share with us today is not legal advice. However, if you do not have permission to share names, dates, and places, please keep client confidentiality in mind. And if you could, just share a case study or a short story of how you've helped someone who came to you with those challenges you just described and what kind of transformational results you were able to gain for them.
Sure. So I think without going into specific client details per se, I think generally the most helpful tool for my clients has been going through a hypothetical year with them as if the agreement was already entered. So first, we'll go through what a regular week will look like, including who will be transporting the children to and from parenting time, what these drop-offs and pickups will look like and when they will occur. And then this helps my clients envision what their everyday life will look like and whether the schedule outlined in their draft agreement is one they can actually see themselves following moving forward. And some of my clients, when we've gone through this exercise, have realized, oh, this is not a schedule that will work with my work schedule, with my obligations outside of my children. And this kind of helps them go through that. I think in addition to that, we go through school breaks. So think your spring break, winter break, and summer vacation. And then we'll finally go through their holiday schedule to ensure all major holidays are covered. And when I say major holidays, I think it's important to note here that it's up to the parents to let their lawyers know if a particular holiday has a certain meaning to them, especially if they have given holiday traditions. For example, I've had clients come with different holiday traditions where they've had, for example, the 4th of July, they've had a huge family reunion every year on that holiday, and I wouldn't know that without them specifically telling me. So I think it's important for parents to kind of understand that there is no such thing as a cookie cutter parenting agreement, so to speak, and that it really depends on their own specific circumstances, especially where the children are a little bit older and they need to have a little bit more structure based on what traditions they've built up in their children's lives to ensure that smooth transition.
So again, we're speaking today about negotiating custody agreements. So with those people in mind, can you share with us some of the most common unknown pitfalls, if you would, that people should be aware of but might not be aware of?
Sure. So I think one common mistake in negotiating custody agreements is rushing to enter into an incomplete agreement that parents may not fully understand or are not fully comfortable with. Divorce can, as you imagine, be a very emotional process, and I've seen parenting agreements that were entered by parents who are following the philosophy that something was better than nothing. They want to get things done as quickly as possible, and as a result, they put some very bare bone language into place and try to move forward from there and just kind of go on with their lives. However, unfortunately, this often results in agreements that don't encompass all of the details that should be included in a custody agreement, such as I mentioned before, a holiday or vacation schedule. They only consider the day-to-day schedule. As a result, we often have cases where parties are coming back because of big gaps that they failed to address in their initial custody negotiations to begin with. This costs parties more legal fees on the back end and often wastes more time and causes more frustration than they had addressed it in their initial agreement.
This is a really interesting topic, and we haven't had a guest who's actually covered this area of custody agreements. When you wake up every morning, how do you feel about the job that you're actually doing, helping these parents? Is this something that you're really passionate about?
Absolutely. I started, as a little bit of background, I started getting interested in family law through a pro bono clinic that I participated in while I was still an undergraduate student at Northwestern, and really being able to see the impact that you can have on your clients' lives is very rewarding to me. It is difficult for some people to understand that it could be a relief and a happy feeling for people to really get out of some situations where they're not happy with their lives and they're not in a good situation that's in the best interest of their children. So I think negotiating custody agreements that can really help the family dynamic grow and become a better situation for the children is actually a very novel and interesting concept for me to move forward with on that.
So with that said then, Stephanie, could you, especially for the people who are listening to you right now, because you've shared a lot of great insights, and I'm sure they're curious to know a little bit more about Stephanie Tang. Who is she? What really motivates Stephanie Tang every day to get up and do what she does? So in your own words then, Stephanie, could you briefly tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially in terms of your background and your education and the experience that you have as it relates to the topic of divorce?
Sure. So in terms of my educational background, I graduated from Northwestern University with honors in legal studies, then went on to get my JD magna cum laude from University of Illinois. Before starting my private practice, I served as a judicial extern for 3 different family law judges, helping to draft portions of court opinions and do legal research for them. This experience, particularly for custody, helped me understand the factors that judges give particular weight to in given issues, such as determining what is in the best interests of the children in a custody case. In addition, I'm a certified mediator and collaborative law professional, which helps me offer clients an alternative to the traditional litigation approach.
So we're coming towards the end of the show. Have you enjoyed everything so far?
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me again.
You're so welcome. So with that said then, Stephanie, when you think about those parents who walk through your door and they're wanting to know how to negotiate custody agreements so that they can avoid the kinds of mistakes that land them back in court after the divorce is finalized, what would be your final thoughts?
I would definitely say to think about what is in the best interest of their children, both before and after they enter the parenting agreement. As I said before, divorce tends to take its toll on parents, and sometimes they want to push for additional parenting time or decision-making responsibilities just to spite their spouse. However, the reality is children are the ones who are most impacted by entry of a parenting agreement, and therefore it's important for parents to keep their particular children's needs in mind, both prior to entering into an agreement and to promote a healthy parent-child relationship once the agreement is entered. I know a lot of judges frown upon parents who alienate their children from the other parent following a divorce, and that often builds a lot of tension in families after custody agreements are entered and brings them back into court because there's a lot of hatred that's fostered there. So I would advise parents, both before and after entering into a custody agreement, to go through the agreement and try to understand how it will be implemented in their everyday lives, and to try to make sure that they can relieve that tension as much as they can following the entry of that agreement.
So, thank you so much for your time, Stephanie, today. So, if there is somebody out there who wants to connect with you, how would they be able to do that? Where would they find you, Stephanie?
Sure. So people can go to our website at www.kogutwilson.com to learn more about our firm and give us a call at 312-565-4100, or you could email me at stephanie@kogutwilson.com. We do free consultations, and we'll be happy to talk to any prospective clients to go through all aspects of their cases.
Okay, fantastic. That's all we have time for today. So thank you once again, Stephanie.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Stephanie Tang. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you to you, the listener, for joining us on this very insightful and what I can only describe as a very informative conversation with one of the top family law attorneys and mediators in Chicago, Illinois today, Stephanie Tang. Make sure you check her out. Her contact details will be on the website. So again, my name is Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading divorce professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.